Welcome back, boys, to the Lonely Road. We're here to help you on your journey to become a better
Cheers.
human. Many of you guys know me from my other job or my other podcast. And honestly, I was looking at the numbers this morning. This show is doing fucking insanely. I didn't even share this to you off the show because I wanted your genuine response. In the past 28 days, we've gotten 40,000 views on this show. That's obviously all shorts included and everything else, but 40,000 views. That's 10,000
Holy
views an
shit.
episode.
That's pretty that's pretty awesome. Thank you so much, guys. That's
Yeah.
amazing to hear. That's great.
So, regardless of if the long episodes or the short episodes, whatever is getting the views, I just think it's cool that we just randomly are like, hey, we're gonna do this, and it's doing something. So that's been rather interesting.
That's
So
great.
yeah, I was blown
Oh,
away this morning when I opened that up.
that is awesome. Congratulations, Zach.
Yeah, no, congratulations. I thought that was cool. Especially, when we were like, yeah, we got 10K across everything like 2 months ago.
Yep.
And now like 2 months later, we're 40K in a month. It feels nice to just consistently be growing. And that's,
Yeah,
always
yeah.
nice.
I mean, thank you. You put all the shorts out there. You do all the editing. It's a testament to your consistency. It really
I
is.
try.
Yeah.
Some days it's hell. But some days I get the thumbnail done on the day we record like I did last week, and it makes it 10 times easier.
That was a good one. That was a good one.
I and I know we have a topic, but it's so hard to get some of those ideas together because it's like, okay, there's either something so specific that it's like that's the thumbnail, or there's absolutely no idea or nothing I can put together where it's like that's the idea of what the thumbnail should be. It's either pulled out of my ass or absolutely perfect. There is no in
Hmm.
between.
Hmm. Yeah. When you're having a little trouble, reach out because I might have an idea. You
Yeah.
never know.
Yeah. Some days it gets hard, but with this journey that we've been on for the past couple weeks here, with everything with you kind of going down that spiral and pulling yourself almost immediately out of it, which was fantastic. It is really interesting to see kind of what we had in the topics that were available. And I don't know, I really like the idea of this topic, especially with that one specifically, which is admitting guilt and admitting that you did wrong. And it was like the big thing that I kind of told you on the show was like, you have to look at Sarah and say, I was wrong.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And I cannot do that anymore. I reacted incorrectly, and I'm really sorry that I did that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's a weird place to learn how to do that because I remember as a kid and everything else, everybody's like, oh, well, just say you're sorry. Saying you're sorry is not apologizing. It's not admitting that you did wrong. It is the formality of saying, hey, I realize that you didn't like what I did. And I know that you expect me to say sorry. So let me just say sorry. So that way we can get past this and stop talking about dumb shit.
Yeah, that's conditioned like that when you're little because you really don't feel the weight of it until you're a little bit older. Sometimes you have to have something done to you in order to know how something feels to other people.
But it's almost like there should be like a secondary conversation with your kids where people around you at like 15, 16 years old, where it's like, okay, apologies are no longer enough anymore. Like at some point, you have to be held accountable for what you did, be accountable to yourself and change the problem that you caused. Like there's like a secondary level there that I don't think, uh, I don't know if it's just my upbringing or everybody's, where that just doesn't happen. It goes from, you're in timeout for 3 minutes, you say you're sorry and everything's back to being good, to then randomly being grounded for a week, you say you're sorry and you're good in a week and then you get your games back. But there's no change after that. Like there's no interpersonal change. Like nobody really ever talks about, oh, how do you fix this with somebody? How do you actually go about being accountable to not only to yourself, but the people around you in admitting that you're wrong?
Yeah, yeah, me and your mom were actually just talking about that right before this recording is, how you have to find everything out the hard way. You don't have people teaching you those soft skills. You don't have, we didn't learn that from our parents. They didn't learn it from their parents. And so there needs to be a generation that just needs to change that and teach those soft skills to their kids so that they learn that accountability at a younger age and they can change, the things about them that then when they look in the mirror and they don't like something that they see, they can first of all pinpoint that and be able to not blame yourself, but take accountability. Hey, yeah, I did that. Um, did I feel good about it? No, I didn't feel good about it at all. So I'm going to make sure that that doesn't happen again moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so interesting to look back on and be like, oh, no, I really wasn't ever told how to apologize. And like watching some of these videos about mental health and stuff, they'll tell you, oh, well, if you say, I'm sorry that it made you feel that way, that's wrong. That's narcissistic. And I'm like, no, that's somebody who doesn't understand why they're apologizing. Like they might not even fully grasp exactly what the fuck's going on. They're apologizing because they feel they have to, because you're yelling and complaining about something. They
Yeah.
don't realize that they did something wrong.
They're
They're
sorry
not
that you feel
narcissistic.
sad, that
Yeah.
you feel bad about it, not necessarily knowing how what they did or what they said came across.
Yeah. And it's just like, there's so many more reasons to why somebody doesn't do something correctly than narcissism. And it seems like that's become such a buzzword for so many people nowadays that it's like it clings on to everything. You don't even understand what it means.
Yeah,
You're
it's
just using
just
therapy words.
yeah, it's just one of those things, just like you said, therapy words and things that people throw out, and it just loses its efficacy after a while because everybody's using it. It's just like, the word being called a racist. Nobody fucking cares anymore because you are called that if you do anything outside of what this box of people says is okay for you to do.
And it's almost becoming surreal because you sit here and look at these situations where it's like, okay, all of these things are the reason why these problems happen. Okay, so what the fuck's the problem? If you can't articulate why you're feeling bad, then there is zero reason for me to apologize until you tell me why you feel bad. We can't keep having the cycle of you shutting somebody out and then saying, well, you have to apologize for things to go back when I don't even understand what I did wrong.
Yeah,
Like
they
it's hard. It's so hard to look at these things with everything that I dealt with and everything that, I probably could have fixed. But at the same time, it's like at some point, beating you over the head with something and making you apologize for something for the 15th fucking time isn't isn't fixing it. Obviously, it didn't fix it the first time you apologized, and it's not going to fix it the 15th. What's the difference?
No, I mean, you have to come to a point in your life. Well, I mean, I guess you don't have to. There are people that do not. But at the end of the day, people that can look inward and you get kind of tired of your shit after a while. At least that's what happened with me. I got tired of the inconsistencies in my beliefs and thought processes. I got tired of being explosive or not able to take criticism when I thought I could take criticism and making it hard for people to talk to me, and I didn't realize that that's what I was doing. But I was being ultra defensive because I thought I had to be. That's from jump as a kid, just with siblings. I just felt like I had to be on the defense a lot. And so I guess that carried into my adulthood, but you got to be able to be sick of your own shit so that you can pinpoint what it is that you want to fix. And if it's a bunch of things, then it's a bunch of things, but then you have to change the thing and not go back to doing the old shit.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the accountability that's really hard to learn. You can step your camera back down to 720. You started lagging when you started shaking your head back and forth and being a sassy white woman. Um, so that's the accountability that's really kind of hard for me to figure out because it's like, okay, as a whole, the first step that you should do when you're apologizing for something or you feel that you did something wrong in an argument, whatever it is what did I do? What did I do that is wrong? How did I handle or approach this incorrectly or different from what I normally do? And it's not normally apologies or holding yourself accountable for what you're doing wrong is looking at what your fucking actions are and are they consistent with who the fuck you are. To me, my biggest thing was I was not fucking, my points of view were not rigid. Like if I started getting pushed on something, I automatically apologized, I let go, and I just kind of let it be because that was easier than just dealing with the argument or the problem or whatever. Now my stances are as hard stance as they possibly can be. It's like I'll hear you out. I'll have the conversation with you. You might be able to change my mind, but that doesn't mean that my entire belief system is now changed because you did.
Yeah. No, but it's definitely good to be able to take in information, possibly information that you did not know, and come to a reasonable conclusion that maybe your mind should change on a certain issue because of the new information that you took in. That's growth. That's
Yeah,
that's just on growth.
it's so interesting too because I dealt with that for so long. I was so wishy-washy on some things. It caused me to be so wishy-washy with everything because it's like, oh, I have to accept this because I fucked up, or I
Yeah.
have to accept that because I fucked up.
Yep. I fucked
Like,
up, so I deserve to be treated this way, and
like this is
that
a
went on for too long.
this is a really really easy story to kind of explain. It was with my ex-wife. I was 15 years old at the time, so like super super early days, and I was sexting with other people when I was in a relationship. Absolutely wrong. But she used that to isolate me from any woman ever, including in my job when I was, 26, 25 years old, saying that it's inappropriate for me to talk to any female ever. Sorry, but those two things are not equal. When I'm 15 years old, should I be held back from females? Probably, probably a little bit because, my hormones are raging and absolutely fucking up the world was my job. But at 25 years old, I am a different person at that point, and I'm a different person now. If I was
Mhm.
still in that relationship, that entire fucking situation is still held over my head. I was 15 years old. There's a difference there. And like admitting guilt was saying that I did something wrong. Admitting guilt was saying, "Hey, I accept that I hurt you and I hurt your trust and everything else. But I should never have been held accountable for that." 10 years later, there's just zero accountability in that point. Like I am 15 years older than what I was today. Like at that point today. There is zero reason for that to be still held over my head if that I was still in that situation.
Yeah,
And
absolutely,
that's
especially
insane that I would have been.
if your behaviors have changed, that
Yeah.
behavior ceased and your behaviors changed moving forward. And if there was no repetitive circumstances, then yeah, absolutely should not have, had there comes to a point where you have to have the forgiveness as well. You can't just go on like punishing somebody or keeping somebody pigeonholed because of your insecurities from a mistake that they may have made, but that's not fair either.
But I think the counterpoint to that, and it's the hardest thing to kind of grasp and explain, is like sometimes people don't want to accept your apology.
Yep.
Regardless of if they're doing the right thing or the wrong thing. There's sometimes they don't want to accept, "Hey, I'm sorry." They want to make you feel guilty for it. They want to make you feel shitty for it. And in the grand scheme of things, accepting whatever the fuck happens is accepting whatever the fuck happens. But you also can stay and say, "Okay, I gave. I gave enough. There's nothing more I can give." If you don't want that, that's completely on you, not on me.
Hmm. Yeah.
But
Yeah. It's interesting when you get into the, relationship dynamic of it all. It's just in any event, it's shit that you are getting tired of. You know,
yeah,
when you're tired of repetitive inconsistencies in, you know, in a relationship or in any situation, a job or whatever the case may be, it's time to look to look inward because you can't change certain things in life. You can't change things about the place that you work unless you're in a position to make changes. But other than that, in different places, you things are certain things are fixed in life. So it's 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 easier for us as humans to hone in on that which we can change. And if there's something you don't like about yourself and something doesn't align with who you are internally, because that happened a lot throughout my 20s. And when I was going into my 30s, I started to align back up. Mid 30s, I just went into recluse, and so everything just kind of aligned from there. But yeah, it's interesting how you have to have introspect. If you can't look inwards, there's not much change that you're going to be able to make in any kind of circumstance.
And no matter if you're the person getting apologized to or you're the person apologizing, introspection is the first answer. Would I want that done to me? Would I accept this problem? And if the answer is, hey, I might not accept this problem, you have to be ready and accepting for anything to fucking happen moving forward. Whether that's a person on the street and you're like, hey, if somebody said that to me, I would swing. And then be ready to be fucking swung on because it might fucking happen.
Oh yeah.
Or, smaller problems of like, oh, I might get fucking broken up with, or I might be left, or I might get divorced. Be ready for it. You got to be ready for everything, not be defensive about it because you're the one that fucked up or are accepting the fuck up.
Hmm.
But like look at it as a whole and be like, can I accept this? Not only can I accept what I did, but can I accept what they did? And if the answer is no, then accept that the situation's done and over with.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, even with
And it's
yourself.
hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got to be even with yourself. You got to accept what the fuck's going on. And at some point, like that accountability has to come from you. It can't just come from the other person.
Oh
You
yeah.
have to
No.
say, hey, I fucked up.
Hmm. You have to
Like
like.
I remember being told that everything I said was a lie. And it's like, I struggle with lying because it's like, if I lie now, I'm like, why am I even lying? I'd rather
Yeah.
just hold the fucking truth and whatever the fuck happens, happens. Like, I'd
Mhm.
rather just not care about what the fuck the outcome is. If I'm honest and straightforward, at least I'm being honest. Because honestly, who the fuck cares at that point?
Yeah. I mean, you are who you are. People that love you know who you are, and there's no need to lie about who
Yeah.
you are. If you're coming from a genuine place, there's no need to lie. It's less that you have to remember. You don't lie.
I remember when I was a kid, every time I would be called out for something, it was like, oh, you're lying. And it's like, well, can we not just use say lying as the first answer for this problem right now? Because obviously at some point I might actually be genuine. I might be a little shithead and lie, but I also could be 100% truthful here too. And I have no
True.
idea.
True, but at that point, you when you lie, you lose trust,
Yep.
and then you lie again, and you lose more trust, and then people can't believe what you're saying as truth. So you have to build that trust back up after years of or times of telling the truth. If then that the answer is still, oh no, you're lying, then there's the problem. You know.
And honestly, the way that people look at trust really bothers me. It's like, oh, I shouldn't give it because you haven't proven yourself. Thing is you're going to care about that person regardless. That insecurity of them lying to you or whatever that is always going to be there regardless of if you trust them or not. Like the hypothetical ideological trust. The trust of, oh, I expect you not to get fucked when you go to work today. That insecurity is going to be there regardless of if I trust you doing it or not. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
the
like it's
thought
the
process of trust is not whether my insecurity is gone or not. It's whether or not I'm going to call you out on your bullshit and I feel uncomfortable about something. It's like that trust should be always there. It should be until you're proven untrustworthy completely.
That's how I run. Like, I just give a base level of trust to everybody.
Yep.
If you fuck it up, then you fuck it up. But if you feed into that trust bucket of trust with me, then it can grow.
Yeah, I give trust and respect the same amount, the same level. Like I hate when people are like, respect your elders, trust your elders. I'm like, no, show me that I can.
A lot of people can't.
Yeah.
A lot of people can't, and there's a lot of reasons why a lot of people can't. But you have to build that
I see.
trust with those
Yeah. I see
littles.
those things as like bank accounts almost.
Mhm. Yeah.
And my mom gets mad at me when I explain it like that, but it's the honest truth. At some point, the negative things that you fuck up and do will negatively impact your fucking relationship with that person or the people around them
Yeah. No, it
because that's
is
what you're doing.
it's an emotional bank
Yeah.
account. That's exactly what it is. And the more that you withdraw from it, which is, the lie or the cheat, even if it's yourself, if you're lying about your own actions, and you're not being truthful with yourself about things that you're doing or saying or your intentions, then you're being disingenuous, and that bank account's going to deplete the emotional bank account is going downward in a spiral. If you continue that, if you're not pouring anything back into it, it's just like a relationship. You take, you take, you
Eh,
take, you take, you take. You have to pour back into.
And there's almost a trust that you have for yourself or your actions and choices as well. Like, and you could probably speak on this a lot too. Is like your judgment in situations right now is probably kind of fucked up. It's gonna be uncomfortable. It's gonna be okay. I'm making the right choice because of the actions that you did a few weeks ago. Am I being impulsive right now? Yes or no? And then you sit there and wait and hope that you're giving yourself the right answer because you're in a situation where you're still questioning every single one of your impulses. Like I remember being there. I remember feeling that shitty.
Yeah.
It's just it sucks. Like at some point you have to learn how to trust yourself again. At some point you got to learn how to hold yourself accountable enough to be like, okay, no, I'm not a piece of shit. I'm not
Hmm.
a shitbag. Let me
No,
trust myself.
no, it's definitely accountability, and that's why I say accountability, not blame. Because if you continue to play the blame game, that's just the negativities. You're just gonna keep, spearing yourself with negativity, and then you're gonna go into a downward spiral because you're the worst person in the face of the earth, and that's how it's gonna end up. You can't do that to yourself. You have to be able to look inwards and take that accountability. And yeah, okay, yeah, you may feel something about it for a little bit. Be in those feels, let it feel it. Because if you don't like that, something that somebody else feels that you are, then if you don't like that, then the behavior that makes them feel that way needs to be changed if you don't like being that thing. And you need to take a look
Exactly.
inwards and sit with that and let it resonate for a little bit and then be like, yeah, all right, I am impulsive and I can map it back. And I map it back into my life and I go back through my 30s and I go back through my 20s and I go back into my childhood and I'm like, oh shit.
Yep.
Yeah, there was a problem and nobody ever caught it, even me.
And now you're not just looking at an impulsive decision that happened 2 days ago. You're looking at impulsive decisions that have happened for the past 30, 40 years, and nobody understood. It's like that's exactly why nobody genuinely fully understands exactly how these things work. It's like unless you're actually able to look back at yourself and look at yourself and your choices and everything else, everything will always be a cycle and always be thrown right back in your face
Yep.
because you're still making the same choice.
Yep. But when you make the choice, when you get tired of your shit, speaking personally, when you get tired of your own shit and you're able to say, "Okay, self, what the fuck?" And you're like, "That wasn't cool." And why was that the answer? Because that's not something that you ever even fathomed that you would do. So what's up? And then you have to take a big deep look and be like, "Oh, wow, yeah, this shit goes back, and now we got to find out how to fix this." So, absolutely, taking accountability is the first thing I did. My wife wasn't even talking to me, and I made sure to text that initial, "Wow, yeah, absolutely." Um, that was absolutely nuts, and I'm really sorry that that happened. I'm really sorry that you had to be involved in that. Um, and I need to find out why that was the answer.
Yeah,
and then you do the work. You make the appointments. If you need meds, you get the meds, even if you hate it. Um, if it helps, it helps.
and I think that's the hardest thing looking back at everything that I dealt with is like there wasn't apologies. It was 15 years of problems that only I created supposedly. And there was no apologies for things that were interacted with. And that's the hardest thing to look back at. Like I'm still healing from a marriage that absolutely broke over exactly this. Admitting guilt and wrongdoing. Did I have my hand in a lot of those problems? Abso-fucking-lutely. But
Mm,
also a lot of those problems weren't mine to fix, but I tried to. I
right.
tried to accept and accept and accept, and I fucking lost it. But the reason I fucking lost it is because of never being apologized to. I jumped out of a moving vehicle because I was being kidnapped from work. And guess what? It didn't get a text, "I'm sorry." I didn't get a text, "I'm sorry that the kids saw that." I got hit multiple times. I didn't get an apology for that. The kids didn't get an apology for that. I'm sorry, that's not how this works.
Mm-mm. No,
That's not accountability.
no, it's not. And if somebody can't um, do that work at all, then obviously now that the way things are is the way things need to be, because of that very thing. If you can't
And I'm
turn
in
it
a much better
inwards
place because of it.
and take your own accountability, then that and the other party is trying to and doing their best to, you can't be the only person in that relationship to do that. And let me tell you, from looking on from the outside, I know that in the inside it felt the way it felt, but you weren't the only problem.
I know.
I'm not, it absolutely was not the case.
And it's so hard to see that when you're in the problem. It's so hard
Hmm.
to understand that when everybody tells you you're the only problem in this situation.
Yeah.
And then you look back at it afterwards and you're like,
Mm,
at max
was I though?
33% of this is my fault.
Was I
And then
though?
you
Yeah.
realize it's almost like a weird ego when you look at the situation of like, I was told this entire time 100% of these problems were my fault. When I realize not even a majority of these things are my fault, then it kind of like validates the person that you were almost. And it kind of like flips you back to being the person you were. And
Well, yeah.
it's weird.
And it puts that cement underneath you that you need to stand strong, um, in yourself, in who you now know that you are, and you're not gonna let anybody else do that to you.
And I
Um,
think that's something that you, my mom, Brenda, and everybody else really has kind of looked at. And you guys are like, oh, well, you've changed so much and kind of gone back to your roots of who you were, and now you're loud and bombastic, the person that we expected you to be, but never really fully actuated to end up being. Like that's why I say it's weird. It kind of almost reverted me back to being the exact person that I was beforehand, with the little bit of healing that I had to do. It's a weird kind of rebound place where I did admit guilt. I
mhm.
admitted wrongdoing so much, but at the same time, I was like, "No, guess what? The version of me that, did all of these things is more of the right version of me than in January of 2021." And it's such a weird kind of thing. It's such a weird transposing situation that it's like I did a lot of introspection, and fixing me and putting me back together was the answer instead of saying fuck all of this and throw it out.
Mm, right.
And
Yep.
that's weird. It's
Well,
really
I'm
fucking weird.
yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure it is. I wish I would have made that, connection at a younger age. Absolutely.
And it's really weird. And I don't know if this is just my personality or how people look at me. And this might be my autism. This just might completely be the tism talking. I don't understand why so many people now have begun to look at me as like a pseudo leader for everybody or the person that brings everybody together. It is really fucking confusing. I don't get it. And I don't know if that's the introspection or what, or how I've like rebuilt myself. I don't understand it, but it really, really confuses the hell out of me.
Hmm, hmm.
I don't understand. I don't get it. But it is really weird to look back. And I don't really know how to fix it so my kids don't deal with the same problem. When do you teach them that they have to hold themselves accountable and fix it to the way that they would want it to be fixed? So that way
Uh,
things aren't equal.
as soon as they're able to understand, as soon as they're able to understand that, you have to find a way at the age that they're at to give them that lesson. Because the sooner that they can learn that, the better off that they're going to be, because they're going to be able to turn it inwards and change the things about them that they don't like, instead of growing into a person who hates themselves.
And is
Um,
vindictive because that's
yeah,
what a lot of it seems like. A lot of people, it seems almost like if they don't admit wrongdoing in something, that person becomes very, very, very vindictive towards that situation completely. And it seems like a
could
lot of my generation. You know what I'm saying?
could yeah, absolutely. Like it it's not a bone that's in my body really.
Mine
As
either.
far as the pettiness, the vindictiveness, I don't get that way, especially towards people that I love. It's just not something. So it makes me it makes me it was just very surprising for me to understand that people are actually like that, and they're like that by nature. A lot of people.
And it's weird because even sitting here trying to think about it and put the thought process into it and try and figure it all out, I still I can't figure out how to even have this conversation with Maddie, my oldest. It's like at some point you have to fix what you did instead of it just being a haha, I did this.
Right.
You know, you know what I'm saying? Like at what point do you move on from grounding to you fix the problem and that's when everything's released?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a well, how old is she now?
She is almost 14 in 3
Yeah,
months.
there's a point, that's
And
uh,
it's close. I know it is. I can feel it. But it's
yeah,
like at what point do you say, okay, when you change this, the problem's fixed, not when you say you're sorry or not when you're done being
yeah.
grounded.
I mean, maybe,
Because it's weird.
yeah, because how would she feel if you just kept doing something and didn't fix it moving forward, you know?
Yeah.
It would not sit well with her, so she's gotta hold herself to that same standard. If she
Well, even
expects
if
things out of people to behave in a certain way, she's got to take accountability for that in herself.
yeah, exactly. Like even sitting here and you stub your toe, at some point you're going to stop fucking kicking the table. At some point you're going to realize where the fuck you are in the world and you're going to stop kicking the table
Yeah,
or
hopefully
you
sooner
keep
than
having
later.
the same problem.
Mhm.
It's just like I want to teach them the proper way to do these things and accept their guilt or accept their fault and not over accept to the point where they're being vindictive against themselves or being vindictive against others because then they're able to actually grow as better humans instead of people that are always acting out of insecurity or acting out of fear or acting out of malice, and that's kind of hard to realize in real time and put together.
That's the point. You want to raise secure individuals in themselves so that they don't have those insecurities moving forward, and then they get into relationships, and then that they bring that insecurity into the relationship. If you catch that early and have those conversations with Madison's at an age where she can absolutely understand
Yeah.
that concept, and so she has a lot of conversations that I wouldn't think a 13, 14-year-old would have. And so it's to a point, I think, where Madison is at that age where,
Oh,
she's gotta
absolutely.
she's gotta understand, that's if she wants that out of other people in her life, she's gotta do that. And if she does it early enough, then she won't have to fix all these things going back when she's 30, 40, 50
Exactly,
years old.
especially with the ground that she's already been set on. She already
Mhm.
realizes where the wrongs were. She already realizes what the problems are. So it's very easy for her to, well, I would assume. I don't know because I never had it fixed. So I'm doing the work now. It's just like I would assume that it would be rather easy for her to realize, hey, this is how you don't handle these situations. You don't gaslight, you don't gatekeep, you don't girl boss. That's not acceptable. And then you fix things from there. You look inward and you change yourself first before expecting anybody else to fix something. It, it's hard to look at as a parent and be like, okay, well, this is how you change it, but also that's also not how you change it. It's
Right.
a weird catch 22.
But don't assume that she knows that. Make
No,
sure
absolutely
to
not.
make sure to
I,
lead, because I wish that somebody would have just told me these things that should be common sense. Um, you know, nobody told them, so why would they even think to tell me?
yeah, exactly. And it's just it's surreal. And I hope people genuinely look at this and they're like, oh, well, that's where I'm doing things wrong, or that's where I need to fix things or change things. And it's just like, that's a big fucking change. You
Mm,
don't realize it's a big fucking change. You don't realize that it's as big of a thing as it is.
yeah.
But guess what? It's something that will absolutely change every single day of your life.
And it may be big, it may be small, and whatever it is for you, it is for you. But don't point out someone else and expect them to change any motherfucking thing about themselves until you do the same thing
And
with whatever you need to
I
change.
have a stupid little example for that one specifically. I remember when I got social media, I started saying fuck. Started saying fuck all the fucking time. It was my favorite fucking word. I used it as a sentence enhancer, like in SpongeBob, where he used to make dolphin noises, or crabs is and I just filled in every single opening where I couldn't think of a word with fuck. So fuck was in my status of Facebook, MySpace, everything. And then all of my mom's sisters would just start saying, do you kiss your mother with that mouth? And I'd be like, I stopped kissing my mother at 6. It would be weird if I was still kissing my mother. I don't understand what you're talking about. And I look back and I'm like, those are the druggies. Those are the people that have no accountability for anything they've ever done in their life. Their kids are druggies, they're druggies, they've all abused people. Yet for some reason, me saying fuck on the internet wasn't acceptable. I don't understand here, people. We're kind of
It's
at a different level here.
it's the projection for me, Zach. It's the projection.
But like, I remember my mom looking at me being like, can you stop saying fuck on the internet? And I'm like, I'll try
Mm.
today. Tomorrow I'm back to it. Like there's zero reason for me to ever change. And guess what? That fucking mouth that all of you dipshits wanted me to tell me to shut my mouth because I couldn't speak appropriately. Guess what? Is making me money and helping people and doing the things that you didn't do. Well, it's a lonely road to walk. We'll see you fucking next time.
Cheers.
Cheers.